Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here for another TV Afterthoughts and Life Musings. And before we get started, I was wondering if you guys could do me a favor and like the video. It'd be great if you commented on the video, but I was told that the more likes you get on the video, the higher you rise in the algorithm that YouTube has going on. So I just want to test it with a few. I want the likes, don't get me wrong, but I also want to encourage you guys to do that just to see if it's actually true. I can't really call this a TV afterthoughts because TV has been so uneventful the past few weeks that I really haven't been feeling like doing any videos at all. But I gotta stay in the game and keep this thing growing and, you know, see this little project through that I'm working on. And I have pretty much given up on Daytime Divas. I know a couple of people asked me, you know, what happened to those recaps, but the truth is, I haven't really remembered to watch the show since Tatyana Arnold's character left, but maybe tonight while I'm trying to stay woke, waiting on Power to come on, I will do like some binge watching and see if I can get caught up on that show. But if you guys like Daytime Divas, let me know if I need to give it another try. So the good news is that Being Mary Jane comes back on Tuesday night, and so I will be picking up my recaps of that. And then next weekend, Insecure, which is Issa Rae's show, that will be returning to HBO, and I will definitely be recapping that. So 2 shows to add to the lineup and hopefully to get me re-energized. So as always, let me start with the life musings before we get to the rest of the video. I want to do a huge congratulations to my eldest daughter, Morgan. About 2 weeks ago, she got engaged, and her boyfriend had contacted me and said that he wanted to propose to her and to ask my permission and everything, which I thought was pretty respectful. And I thought he was going to do it like that weekend, and then I never did hear from him. And I was like, okay, he must have got cold feet. Then another week passed by, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And then I totally forgot that he was proposing to her. And then all of a sudden I got a video, where she's saying that she was so happy and that she was engaged and happy to be getting married. So she's getting married at the end of the year, and she lives in California and I am in Florida. So this whole planning is going to be very interesting because the past couple of days she was trying on wedding dresses, and so she was sending me pictures and everything of the dresses that she was trying on. And my youngest daughter, she was like, Mama, why don't you just get on a plane and fly out there so you can go shopping with her? But then as I was about to call her and make that suggestion, she came back and said, Mama, I found the perfect dress and I done bought it, so you ain't gotta worry about the dresses no more. So we'll see how this turns out. So I may talk about more of this as we get closer to the actual wedding day. And then the other life musings thing, let's talk about white women and white privilege. Because I experienced it yesterday, and when I tell y'all I could have ended up in prison yesterday, well, not prison, but in jail yesterday. So I'm sitting at home in my family room watching my television, watching tennis, something I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, somebody started ringing my doorbell and bamming on the door, bam, bam, bam. So I was like, who the hell is that bamming on my door like that? So I get up, come look out the window. So it was this older white woman, and she looked like she was canvassing the neighborhood. So right now in St. Petersburg, we're going through this mayoral race, and one of the council seats for like a predominantly black area of town is up for grabs, and things are getting really heated and really nasty and stuff. So I'm like, the last thing I'm about to do is be standing here talking to somebody, talking about politics. So I go, and I was getting ready to go sit back down, but then the way my kitchen is set up, there's 2 windows. So I was looking at the window that was further down, and then to get back out of the kitchen, there's another window that's over the kitchen sink. So I happened to glance out the second window, and I see the lady like walk down and go down the walkway, but instead of her going down the driveway back to the street, she walks in front of my car. So I'm like, okay, well, what is she doing walking in front of my car? Like, she's really close to my house. So I go to the foyer and I'm looking out the foyer window and I notice that she's walking over to the house next door. So the house next door is vacant. And I'm like, she can't see that nobody lives in that house. There's no curtains up or anything. But anyway, I noticed that she's talking and she's smiling. So later on, I figured she must have been like on the phone, on the Bluetooth or something, because there was nobody over there for her to be talking to. So anyway, fast forward 20 minutes later, somebody rings my doorbell again. So I go to the door, but by the time I get to the door, there's nobody there. So I go and sit back down, and then I was looking for something, and I said, oh, it's in the bathroom. So I go into my bathroom, and I can hear water running. And so I'm looking, checking the toilet not running, you know, the shower's not on, the sink water isn't on. So then I go to the other bathroom in the house thinking maybe my daughter Jasmine, you know, has been playing in the water. But there's no water on in her bathroom. So I'm like, well, dang, why am I hearing this water running? So I go outside. Why is my water for the water hose on full blast? So I walk around to the driveway where the little water hose holder is. And my water hose is stretched. It's like a 100-foot water hose. And it's stretched across the rest of my lawn into this the lawn of the vacant house next door. So I was like, I know dang on well this woman is not stealing my water, because it turned out that the lady who was banging on my door the first time was actually like a landscaper, and she was there planting some plants on this property, like doing the landscape, because they're remodeling the house and fixing it up for sale. So I go and I say, you know, I'm not even gonna say anything to her. I turn the water off, start to roll the water hose back up into the holder, and she says, no, don't you do that. And I'm like, is she really telling me not to turn my water off and take my water hose back that she is using without my permission? So she comes running over and she's like, I need that water, I'm trying to water these plants and they're gonna die if I don't have the water. And I'm just like, you don't get to come on my property and turn my water on and take my water hose. And then to make matters worse, she wasn't even watering the plant. She was just letting my water run. The water just running out into the yard and out into the street. And I'm just like, is this lady serious? So she was like, well, I came to your door and you didn't answer the door. So I went across the street and talked to the lady across the street. And she said you were a very nice person and you wouldn't mind. So I had to make a mental note that I need to go talk to my neighbor and tell her, you don't be telling nobody to use my water. And so I told the lady, I said, well, you know what? I am a very nice person until you cross the line. And this is crossing the line. So I'm going to need you to get on back over there to that yard. And so she was like, but it's hot out here and the plants need the water and the plants are going to die. And she's just going on and on about all these reasons why she's using my water illegally. And so I'm like trying to figure out, at what point does any of this have to do with me? Like, why is it my problem? Why do I have to pay for water for you to plant plants in a yard that don't belong to me? And she was like, well, the water was supposed to be turned on today, and I tried to call the owner to let the owner know that the water hadn't been turned off. Again, not my problem. So she was just getting on my last nerve, and I could just feel the anger just rising up in me. And I wanted to like literally sock this woman in her damn face. And you know, I try not to cuss. But she had a behind whooping coming to her, that she is standing there arguing with me. And then I'm standing there like, why am I even listening to her? So I'm thinking, you know what? I should call the police, let the police handle this. And I'm like, but no, they'll be done showed up and kill me, because they'll ride up here and immediately think that I'm the one in the wrong and she the homeowner and I be dead out here. Then I said, well, you know what? I can go to the outlet on the other side of the house and just turn the water off, which is what I should have did from the beginning. Just went, because she couldn't see me from the, you know, the shrubberies and stuff in front of my house. So I could have gone the other direction and just turned the water to the house off altogether. But I was like, why am I going to inconvenience myself? Like, if I need a drink of water, I done turned my water off, you know, trying to appease her. Anyway, to make a long story short, I was just so angry and that I wanted to fight this woman, that I just said, Jesus, be offense. What should I do? How should I handle this? You know, and the Holy Spirit spoke back and said, you know what? Just go on back in the house and let it go, you know, before this turns into something it doesn't need to be, because if you hit this woman, you going to jail. And so she must be saw, you know, that I was praying to keep from whooping her behind. And so she said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. I'll turn the water off. And she said, I'll leave the water off, because I had already turned the water off. I'll leave the water off. I'll finish planting the plants, and then I'll come turn the water back on, water the plants really good, and then I'll come and get out of your way. And I'm just like, how in the hell are you negotiating with me about my water? And you ain't saying nothing about paying me for my water. So then she was like, and I was going to leave a note on the door and let you know, thank you for letting me use the water, and I was going to offer you a plant or something. Lady, I didn't let you use my water. So that would have just pissed me off more. But I was like, you know what? I just turned around and I walked away, and I just said, Jesus, take over this. But when I came in this house, it took me about an hour for my soul to get settled down, because I was so angry with this woman that, anyway, that was my life musings rant for today. I was just like, I can't believe the nerve of some people. So moving right along, like I said, for the past 2 weeks, I've been watching Wimbledon, rooting Venus Williams on. She made it to the finals. I was like, yes, V, you finally gonna get you another title. It's been like 9 years since you won a title, and we get to the finals, and she was playing Garbine Muguruza, who is from Spain or somewhere. And I like Garbine, so it wasn't no big deal that she won. But Venus, she fought hard in that first set, and it was 7-5, and then she just lost all hope, all will to win in that second set. I was so angry with her, and she lost 0-6. I was like, really, Venus, you couldn't even win a game in the second set. And then one of my Facebook friends said that she knew Serena was home about to go into labor watching that match. And I'm saying Serena probably turned the TV like the rest of us turned the TV when we realized that Venus had then gave up and this wasn't going to go in her favor. But at least now Venus can get back home and deal with this lawsuit that she's facing. And I'm sure you guys have heard by now that she's being sued by the family of this guy. Venus was leaving the subdivision she lives in. She had a green light. She got into the intersection, but then traffic stopped, and so before she could proceed through the intersection and make her turn, this car came along, and they say that they had the green light, and they ran into Venus, and the father died. I think he was 78 years old. And so they're saying that Venus was at fault, but I think it came out later that, after they completed the investigation, that Venus wasn't at fault, because when she went in the intersection, she did have the right of way, and by law, she had to complete the turn and get out of the intersection. It wasn't like she could just bike up or stop and hold up traffic. And what I think happened is that these people were speeding, or not necessarily speeding, but they were coming along. They had the red light, and when the light changed, they still didn't slow down. They just kept going at the rate of speed that they were going. And they claimed they were only doing 25 miles per hour, but based on the damage, they were driving faster than 25 miles per hour. But they went to court to get the, I guess, like the black box out of the cars to determine the speed and, what all took place. And so, Venus has that to deal with, and hopefully, everything will work out. And one thing I thought was really interesting about this whole story is that Venus, this is what me and my girl are like, because I would drive a car until it fall apart. Venus was driving a 2010 Toyota, whatever the SUV is for the Toyota line. But I was thinking, like, Venus, all that money you got, and you driving a 2010 Toyota, one up for you, girl. Be smart with your money. Don't be like Beyonce and Jay-Z and them out there renting paying $400,000 a month to rent a doggone house. But speaking of money, Did you guys see that video that Serena did for Chase Bank, where they're like interviewing, I guess, like these rich and famous people about how they, took care of their money through the years? So in this interview, Serena sat her butt there talking about when she first started winning tournaments, that she didn't care anything about money. All she cared about was playing tennis. So back in the day, before they had direct deposit, well, not really direct deposit, but they could automatically transfer this money around, that they would pay the tennis players with checks, and that she didn't care anything about the checks. She would just, be happy she had won and going on about her business. So she wouldn't get her money for the tournaments until the next year when she was playing in that same tournament, and the tournament director, would track her down to give her this money. And I'm saying, that's Serena, why you sit up there telling them lies? Because we all know that Richard Williams wouldn't letting y'all leave no tennis tournament without the money. Because, I'm sure back then, losing in the first round didn't pay that much money. But today, if you lose in the first round of a Grand Slam, you still make $45,000. So whether it was $10,000 back then, $5,000, Richard Williams was not letting that money go. So I'm waiting on some tournament directors to come forward and say Serena lying about that. But the other story that she told was that when she first opened her own bank account, because I guess maybe the parents was handling the money in the beginning. So she opened her first bank account, and she had $1 million check that she had won at a tournament. And she said she went through the drive-thru and tried to deposit the check, and the people was like, "Oh no, ma'am, you got to come inside to handle this transaction." So now that story I can believe happened. Like if she wasn't used to handling her own finances, I can see. Like if I'm just depositing the check and I ain't trying to get no money back, why I got to come inside? Why I can't go through the drive-thru? So that part of the story I did believe. But Serena, that part about you leaving that tournament and not getting your money and Richard not saying nothing, that part I'm finding a little hard to believe. Then moving on to Miss Beyonce and her twins. You guys know yesterday she released a photo of her and the babies for the first time. And so the caption on her Instagram said, Sir Carter and Rumi, or however you pronounce it. So there was a post on Twitter where the person said, well, I'm a little confused because she wrote Sir Carter and Rummy, not Sir Carter and Rummy Carter, or not Sir and Rummy Carter. It was like Sir Carter, like there was a distinction. And so the person was saying, does that mean that Rummy has a different father than Sir does? And I'm just like, these people come up with the dumbest stuff to be talking about, and then Beyonce I think she does stuff like that on purpose to get people to talking. And you guys know there's like all these memes out where she thinks she's the Madonna, and then they're bringing in like all these, famous paintings with Beyonce and them twins intertwined. And I'm just like, really? Beyonce, I know you had to release the picture for your fans, but I just really want to know why her fans won't talk about these ugly backdrops and backgrounds that she's taking. Like, what is her fascination with these ugly, cheap-looking flowers behind her? And you guys remember when Sears, JCPenney's, and Kmart, and some of the other department stores used to have like the photo center, and you go in and take your pictures, and you had your choice of the 4 seasons, summer, fall, winter, or spring background, but they look so cheap and cheesy. But that's how these backgrounds in Beyonce's pictures look. And I know they said for this particular picture, it was actually taken on the grounds of this house that they're renting, and then I guess she put up that little arch with them Joanne flowers, Joanne plastic or silk flowers, going around it. But y'all need to talk to y'all girl and let her know that it ain't cute. And then they were saying that the reason she keeps taking these ugly, hideous pictures is because she's like trying to say that she's the Madonna, she's giving birth to the world or whatever. But whatever that nonsense is, Beyonce, congratulations on your twins, but please do better with the backgrounds. And whoever these photographers are, you need to be counseling Beyonce and letting her know that this is not cute at all. Then we move over to Tyler Perry, and if you haven't heard by now, Tyler Perry has signed a deal with Viacom where he is going to, it's supposed to be like a multi-year content partnership, they're calling it, and he's going to be making some television shows, approximately, they said 90 episodes annually of original dramas and comedies for BET and other Viacom networks, and that Viacom will have exclusive licensing rights and programming, you know, for whatever he's doing. So you guys know that Viacom owns VH1 and a few other channels, so they're responsible for a lot of the foolishness that is taking place, you know, on television that is not showing black folks in a good light. And although I am proud of Tyler Perry, you know, for inking this deal, it bothers me on the other hand that he is given all these opportunities to bring this foolishness and these bad acting, these poorly written, bad acted shows to television, whereas we have these phenomenal black writers and producers who never get a chance, and then we're seeing all of the quality programming that's dealing with you know, issues of substance being taken off of television, you know, for no apparent reason other than the networks can take them off of television. So hopefully Tyler, you know, will use his influence to do better than the have and the have-nots, and If Loving You Is Wrong, all these little soap opera shows. And when it comes to the comedy, I hope it's better than the comedies he has done in the past, you know, with these same cast members from these plays, these Medea plays that he be doing. So Tyler, let's take it to the next level. Kudos and congratulations for your accomplishments, but let's rise up a little higher this time. Now on a more somber tone, did you guys see the study that was done by, I think it was by Georgetown University, about black girls and them being less innocent than white girls? And you know, they were talking about in the article how it was, the results of the study was shocking to everybody but black moms, because black moms know, you know, that their daughters are treated differently in the world. And so it so they're basically saying that black girls in the United States are perceived by adults as much less innocent than white girls. And, you know, it's creating a lot of buzz, because it's like, why can't we just live and be great? Like, why do we have to be treated or seen differently than everybody else? And so the study was released last month, and it was called Girl Interrupted: The Erasure of Black Girls' Childhood, and it identifies several, you know, well-researched reasons for the disparity. And I'm going to put the link below if you want to see the PDF. It's like a 24-page study that was taken. So what took place in the study was that they were comparing white girls of the same age to black girls, and the things that they observed is that black girls need less nurturing, less protection. They need to be supported less. They need to be comforted less. They are more independent. They're more knowledgeable about adult topics, and that black girls know more about sex. I don't know if it's true that black girls know more. I think that because of the disparity in, you know, socioeconomic pointers and drivers, that black girls may be exposed to more at a younger age, but it doesn't make them any less innocent. You know, I think that they deserve the same consideration as any other race of children. And I don't really know how to feel about the story, because, you know, as the mother of 3 black girls, I really don't know how to feel about it. But I can say that from my own personal experience, that all these topics that they're saying are not true to all black girls. So, you know, like I said, I'll put the link below, and you guys can read the study yourself and let me know what you think about it. So there was another story that came out about an arrest that took place in Arlington, Texas, and it was where a mother said, so these are black people, and they live in an apartment complex. The mom said that her son wanted to go swimming or something, so she told him to go see if the pool was open. And in the midst, between him going to the pool and coming back, he was stopped by police who were supposedly investigating car burglaries, and there were supposed to have been 2 teens in the area that were burglarizing cars, and they said that this boy fit the description. So the mom comes out and she's videotaping the son being arrested, and she's pretty much telling her son to be cool and to be cooperative. And we see him being placed in a police car, and so she's talking to the police officer, asking him what's going on, where are you taking my son. She asks for his card and the card of the other police officer. He gives her his information, but says that the other officer he's the superior to the other officer, so she doesn't have to give her information, which I don't think is true. But the black mom, she won't go argue with him about it. So then she's like, well, where are you taking my son? I didn't know where, he's going, where I can, come to, which is a reasonable question if you're arresting my minor child. And I think the little boy was like 14 years old. So that the police officer all of a sudden is like, I was trying to be cooperative with you, but you want to get all negative and nasty. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, now we all sitting here watching this video, and this lady is not being uncooperative. She's a concerned mother. She's upset her child. And I'm thinking she was way calmer than I would have been if this was going down. But she tried to maintain her calm. She was videotaping the whole thing. So when she starts questioning him about, why are you not going to tell me where my son is, then the man wanted to get all up in her face and get nasty and everything, and telling her, he's going to arrest her for impeding an investigation. I mean, just being rude and nasty for no apparent reason than the fact that he had that badge and a gun and could do it. So she had another son that was with her. So the other son was like trying to calm her down and telling her to get back. And then the next day, we know the other son then got swung all the way around, slammed to the ground, and now he's under arrest for interrupting or interfering with the police or something they was talking about. So long story short, they arrested both of this lady's sons. Then they did a press conference, the mom and her lawyer and this organization from Arlington. They did a press conference, and in this press conference, they were basically saying that the police were willing to drop the charges against both of the boys if the mom would turn over. Oh, that was the other thing. So at the end of the video, they confiscate the mother's phone, and she's like, I don't have to give you my phone. They're like, yes, you do. So, to keep from arguing with them and to make the situation worse, she gave them the telephone, but evidently her videos are automatically uploaded to her cloud. So she had the videos, and they posted the videos on social media. So now the police, I guess, didn't realize that the videos had been posted to social media already. So they were trying to broker a deal with her where they say, okay, well, you give us the video and we'll release your sons, and drop all the charges. And so she was like, no, that's not going to happen. So basically, now the police, now that they realize the video has been uploaded to the cloud, they're trying to charge the one son, with the burglary, even though they don't have any proof that he had burglarized anything. And they said that the only thing that he had in his backpack was a Bible. So I'm like, okay. And the other son, they're trying to charge him with assault on a police officer, where he obviously did not touch this police officer at all. So this is going to be an interesting case to stay tuned and see, how this all plays out. But it just shows how these people just have no respect for our children, no respect for black people. And they are just reckless and think that they can do whatever they want to citizens. And now these people, I think they lived in a rent-controlled apartment complex. They've been served an eviction notice, because of all of this. And I think she said they had only been in Arlington for 4 years. So it's not like they have like a strong support system there. So on top of these legal actions, worrying about her sons and whether they're going to be charged, because they did release both of the boys, now she has to figure out where they're going to live at. And then with all the publicity for the case, does that mean that other apartment complexes are going to let her move in? And can she even afford to live in other apartment complexes? So let's keep our eye on this one and pray for this mother and her sons, and that they're not adversely affected by this down the line. And when I tell y'all, it just was not a good news week for black people in America, because now we're going to move on to a story about a 19-year-old girl in Bakersfield, California, who was out riding her bicycle. As she pulled over on the bicycle, she said to get some water out of her backpack and to, take a drink of water because it was really hot. I think she said it was like 103 degrees outside. But she gets confronted by the police, who they ended up beating her up. They put the dogs on her, so she was bitten all up by the police dog. And they said that she was resisting arrest, and that the reason they pulled her over, well, not pulled her over, but the reason they stopped her, because she was on the bicycle, was because she fit the description of a black man who was robbing a store and waving a machete. And I'm just like, where do they come up with this stuff? Like, this was clearly a girl that was, I think they said she was like 5'3", weighed 114 pounds, like a small girl, 19 years old. And they say that they confused her with a man wielding a machete. So the police department has launched an investigation, to find out what's going on. And so the investigation was actually triggered after Tatyana Hargrove, described the police encounter in a video that was posted by the NAACP on their Facebook page. And so the confrontation also sparked a petition demanding that the officer be placed on leave and that charges be filed against him. So they had pictures and everything, her parents was there, and they were talking about, how devastated they was, and they never thought that anything like this would happen to their daughter. But police are out of control all across America. They just acting a purely damn fool and just coming after our kids for no reason, just no reason at all, for the way that they're treating people. And there was another incident that I saw on the news where a guy was assaulted by the police, and they put the dogs on him, and the dogs bit the man all up and everything. And actually, I think it was like 3 stories in the news where the police dogs are attacking people. And I thought that the dogs were trained that once the dog attack you and get you down on the ground, that they're supposed to let go. But in all 3 of these incidents, the people were not fleeing. So why is the dog attacking these people is beyond me, because they weren't fleeing the police, they weren't resisting the police. And then why are the dogs allowed to maul people? Like, the police that's got the dog is not trying to pull the dog off of the person. He's holding the dog still while the dog is just biting and tearing into these people who have, and I think in all 3 cases the person really hadn't done anything. But like I said, another story to keep your eye on and see how it progresses and turns out. And then another phenomenon that seems to be in the news lately is the murder of young girls. And so there were 3 cases. There were 3 incidents that I saw in the news, but I can only remember the names of 2 of the girls. But while I was researching for those cases, I came across a case of a little white girl. So I included her instead of continuing to look for the other black girl. But basically, we have an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old that were minding their own business, out doing what kids do. They disappear, and then later their bodies are found where they have been murdered. So in the most recent case, it was an 11-year-old New Jersey girl, and her name was Abbiegail Smith. And her mother said that the last time she saw her was around 7:45 Wednesday night. And she reported her missing probably like 2 hours later, like 9:50. She was like, okay, well, where is she at? Well, the next day, the police found her buried in the backyard of their apartment complex. And they were quick to say that they didn't think, a family member or anything, was suspected of foul play in her death. And then they came back later and they had arrested a guy who lived in the apartment complex who had killed this 11-year-old girl. I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with people? And then we had a case a few weeks ago where a 12-year-old girl named Naomi Jones disappeared. She lived in Pensacola, and they searched for her for several days, and they finally found her body in a creek, and she had been murdered, and they arrested a black guy in her murder. And then I think they announced was it this past week, they announced that they're actually going, the grand jury came back with a first-degree murder charge, and they're going to seek the death penalty for the guy who's accused of killing her. And he had like a past criminal history, and for sexual abuse or sexual molestation. So I don't really believe in the death penalty, but he definitely needs to be taken off the street permanently, because I can't think of what a 12-year-old could have done to you to make you want to kill her, unless you were trying to molest her or something. And why he thought he was going to get away with it is beyond me. Why does anybody think they're going to get away with killing people, like in these just senseless killings? In this third case is a 14-year-old named Caitlin Cargill, and she was from Bedford, which I think is in Texas. And so she disappeared while out walking her puppy, like normal things that kids do. And she was killed, and they found her body in a landfill. And so currently they have no suspects in that case, and it's an ongoing investigation. But it's just a warning to us that we got to keep an eye on our kids, because there are just so many crazy people out there who don't mind, kidnapping them, raping them, killing them. And it is just, the world is just a crazy damn place right now. So then we move over to Louisiana, and this story, I don't know how I came across this story. It popped up on some social media thing, and I normally don't click on these stories, but I clicked on this one, and it was the most bizarre story. So there was this couple, this black guy, his name is, I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Gilroy. Was it Juan? And then the girlfriend's name was Quincy Brown. So these two were, I guess, at a party or hanging out with family friends. And on their way home, they say that they decided to go frogging. And I guess frogging is where you go and try and capture frogs in a pond or a lake or something. I don't know if they eat the frogs after they catch them and kill them or what, but anyway, DeQuint says that they were on their way home from this gathering with the family when they decided to go frogging. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, they stopped by a friend's house to borrow their ATV to go out to the lake or the pond or whatever. So on their way to the pond, they came across this police officer, and for whatever reason, the police officer pulled them over. He said that he pulled them over because he was responding to a call about a stolen ATV. Now, in DeQuincy's statement of what happened, she does not mention whether or not they knocked on the door or woke up the friend to tell the friend they was borrowing the ATV, or if they just took the ATV thinking they didn't want to bother the friend. But the police officer says that he was investigating this call about the stolen ATVs. Now, what happened at that point is she's telling one story and he's telling a totally different story, but somehow he was going to arrest the guy, the Gilroy guy. They got into a confrontation. He threw Gilroy down on the ground. According to the girlfriend, he shot him in the back while he was laying on the ground, and then I guess she came over to try and push him away, or she said that the reason he ended up throwing him to the ground was because the police officer was all up in his face, and he pushed the police officer, and then the police officer was going to arrest him. So two totally different stories. She says that she came over to try and aid her boyfriend, and then the police officer pushed her away, then got up and shot him 3 more times in the back. And then his story was that they attacked him. He pulled his gun. The guy came after him when he tried to pull the gun and tried to take the gun, and that's why he shot him. Then he says that she jumped on his back, and that's why she's being charged with attempted murder of a police officer. The stories were so crazy and so outlandish that they didn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. So, once the dash cam video is released and the police do their investigation, we'll find out what really happened in this case. But I don't think that the Gilroy guy was armed, that this was some kind of confrontation that happened at 4:30 in the morning or whatever time it happened. He ended up dead. The girlfriend ended up arrested and charged with attempted murder. Then we move on, and this is the last story that I'm going to cover. But it's about Bakari Henderson. He's a 22-year-old recent college graduate that was murdered over in Greece. And this week, video was released of what happened. And so what we know is that Bakari and some of his friends were vacationing in Greece. They were at a nightclub, and first account said that he took a picture with the waitress, and some of the patrons at the bar became upset, and that's why they beat him up. But the friends are saying that they were at the bar having a good time, everything was going well, but then they made the mistake of putting their drinks on somebody else's table. And then the pictures of the bar, it's like one of those lounges where you have like the sofa like tables going across a wall, and then you have like individual tables in front, but everything is lined up. And so I guess they didn't realize they were putting their drinks on the wrong table, and an argument ensued. The bouncer came over, and then things got so heated that the friends, they all ran out of this club. So the bouncer, another customer, and then 6 Serbian guys, they all ended up, they caught the black guy, Bakari, and they ended up beating him to death. And the friends just kept on running. They didn't come back and try and aid him or help him. They didn't have no scratches, abuses on them. So I got an issue with the friends as to why you didn't come back and help your friend. But nevertheless, in the video that was released, you can see there's like a bar, and there's people at the bar, and it's one of those open window type bars where like you could be sitting outside, but there can also be people outside the club that are sitting and having drinks. So you have all these people in this bar. Then and you have people walking up and down the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden you see in the background 2 or 3 people run down the street, and then they run down the street. Then you see this black guy running down the sidewalk, and then he tries to get off the sidewalk and get in the road to follow the people that we had saw run down the street earlier. But he gets caught by the people. It was a mob of people. Half of them were on the sidewalk, the other half were on the street. So when he tried to cut across behind this car to get in the street, the people that were chasing his friends in the street cut him off, and he got elbowed by one guy, which like the momentum threw him across the back of the car. He ended up, I think he hit his head on the curb maybe. So then all these people jump him, and they're kicking him and beating him, and there's this one lady who's trying to intervene and pull them off of the guy. But in the midst of all this mayhem, the people that are in the club, first they try to run out, but then they come back in the club. Then you got people that are walking up and down the street who are just looking like this is a normal occurrence to see somebody getting the crap beat out of them, and they just keep walking past and don't pay any attention. But in the end, they arrested like 8 or 9 people in connection with his death. And I'm just thinking, you do the right thing, you raise your child up, you make them love the world. He's gone to college, he has his hopes and dreams and all these things that he wants to do in his life, and he goes on vacation to celebrate, and he comes back in a body bag. And actually he hasn't even come back in the body bag because the family is still trying to get his body from over in Greece, which makes no sense to me. But anyway, be careful out there because the world is crazy, and be careful who your friends are, because he was there with people who say they were his friends, who were talking about how loving and kind he was, but none of you came back to help him and try to save his life. Not that you would have been able to in the end, but dang, if you're a friend, like I just cannot see myself out somewhere and somebody jumped my friend and I don't try to help my friend. But I guess it's one of those situations where unless you're in the moment, you don't know what will happen or what to expect. But rest in peace, Bakari Henderson. Let's hope that you get justice. 9 people have been charged with your murder. I think they were charged with manslaughter. Be leery of Serbians. I think Novak Djokovic, couple of other tennis players that I like a lot. They're from Serbia, so we know that all Serbians are not bad, but I hear that they are very racist, so be careful. And if you're traveling to Greece, they say Greece is on America's watch list of countries that black people shouldn't visit because they are, I guess, more racist than we are here in America. And and don't wait on Donald Trump to say anything about an American being murdered in a foreign country, because he ain't said nothing yet. That's it for me for the TV Afterthoughts and Life Musings. Please leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, enjoy your weekend and have a great week. Bye-bye.